Okay, cool.
So usually what I do is I will present a number of articles, but I'm not going to go into extreme detail on them. You'll be able to see the URL in the address bar and the title of the article, and so you can check out the articles on your own if you want to get into more details. This was a pretty interesting article on using AI to help you code. And what they found is that there were a lot of mistakes and a lot of security issues. They found that the chatbots tended to ignore security issues. By the way, this is from IEEE Spectrum. So this is the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers that I belong to. But you can still access this article even outside of their membership. And so that was an issue. They were finding that there were a lot of security issues in the code that was generated. If you continued to prompt the chatbot, you could get it to fix some of those security issues, but you had to know to do that. So I recommend the article. It's very interesting.
What types of security issues if you keep pumping up the ChatGPT? Because right now I have the free version, and free version is, Rick is coming. The free version is upgrade to 3.5 ChatGPT, but 4 is locked. If you pay $20 per month, you can unlock.
Isn't it 25 a month now?
I think 20. I don't know. 2025. It's kind of that price.
Hi guys.
Hi, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
I'm just going over an article right now from the IEEE Spectrum, a critical look at AI-generated software. They're finding that a lot of people are using chatbots to generate code, but they're finding security issues within that code.
What does that mean by security issue? Is that people can get like a personal data or camera information?
Here's, for example, they talk about encryption algorithms. For example, it would choose an encryption algorithm that wasn't secure, for example. That would be one security issue. And mistakes in the code as well, but you find that out as you try to run the code. You have to debug it. So anyways, it's sort of a view from a professional standpoint, from a professional programming standpoint, of what you're getting from these chatbots and what the gotchas are and what you have to watch out for. So so I recommend the article. My wife actually read it to me. So it's pretty interesting. These are articles, they're not in complete order here today, but there's a number of them. Tesla starts production of Dojo's supercomputer to train driverless cars. I don't know exactly what they're doing in terms of the training with the supercomputer. I know in the past that NVIDIA has advocated generating synthetic imagery for training. The problem with that is that if you're using synthetic imagery, that means you have to figure out ahead of time what type of imagery you're going to use. And the gotcha, I've worked in this area before, the gotcha with doing the training with synthetic imagery is that you don't necessarily anticipate all the things that you'll run into in the real world. And so you want to train on as many diverse situations as possible when you're training for self-driving. And often things happen that you can't anticipate. And so that may be a limitation to this type of training. But anyways, they're generating their own chips. They've used NVIDIA chips as well. So they're using a lot of computing power for doing the training. And so they will acquire their own data from being out in the field and train on that. So I'm sure that's part of the training that this supercomputer is going to be doing.
I read some news from like a Chinese woman, like she did a lot of TikTok talk about the business, and she's very big. And she talks about Tesla will be its own ecosystem. Why? Because they have big enough users' data. So, for example, if they are selling like insurance, right? So, for example, if in the future car, because insurance, if it is self-driving car, there's some issues for the liabilities for who.
Yes, I would think so.
Yeah, and then Tesla got the very good leading spot for giving away the insurance. Why? Because Tesla has the car and knows, for example, the car driver. If the car driver is ruthless, right? The hitting the brake in the wrong time or something, and they will have all the data. So, for example, if I see this person, oh, this is a good driver according to the driving data, and I can give a better deal. And if this is not a good driver, then okay, you need to pay more. So Tesla has the data allows Tesla to do the accurate or the correction of giving away the insurance. So let's say in the future, data will be the new oil, right?
That could hurt you as well as help you, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like those car insurance ads where they say, well, we'll give you a break on the price of the insurance if you have this attachment in your car that monitors your driving.
Yeah, right.
And if you're a good driver, we'll give you a better rate. So if you're not a good driver,
yeah, and Tesla has
built
all
into
the
car.
Yeah, Tesla has all the data for each driver, so it can give like a insurance or all the stuff like with a better judgment. So I think in the future or right now, whoever owns the data, user data, is the winner.
I think an interesting question is, do you get a better insurance rate or a worse insurance rate if the car?
It's for, I would say it's for Tesla. It's
Right,
own benefit. It's not for us. We are the product, you know.
No, but what I'm thinking is, if you're using self-driving a lot with Tesla, would you get a higher car insurance rate or a lower rate? I don't know.
Yeah, and what if it has car accident? Can we rate Tesla a little lower on Google?
Oh, so if you're sitting in the driver's seat and you're asleep,
and you got car accident, I think it's on Tesla though.
If it's self-driving, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting questions. Well, Elon Musk's vision is that eventually you'll buy a Tesla and you won't be using it most of the day. You'll be at work or you'll be at home.
Oh, yeah. And you can have a taxi system. Yeah.
Yeah, it will go out and drive itself and then take itself to someone else who wants to pay for the car. And then it will go drive them around. You're doing your own thing at home.
Yeah, we can all be the Uber driver for Elon Musk, right? Yeah. In the future, car will be so expensive that nobody can afford.
Well, he feels that the price of the car can go way down because you'll recover a lot of costs from it being an Uber car, essentially a Tesla
Maybe
Uber.
Maybe Apple will take
Apple.
Similar, maybe Apple will take a similar approach and rent out the Apple Vision.
I just don't have a lot of faith in these cars going out and doing that on their own.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future we will figure things all out and we can just teleport things and there's no car. It's safer.
So Meta's got a new version of their chatbot that's coming out.
Do you know VoiceBox? VoiceBox?
VoiceBox, what's VoiceBox?
A new AI model that leverages generative AI to generate edit speech.
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Oh, good. I have a thing on VoiceBox, video on VoiceBox, if you want to see it.
Well, why don't we go through it after I go through these?
And go through you, because I just look at the VoiceBox and I want to learn more about Rick. From Rick.
Okay.
Okay,
so why don't we go through these first and then we'll hit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I only have 3 links to share anyway. I just have 2.
Yeah, and today we have Alex, so yeah, he will pop in, and I have timer, so that's just
Oh, good, we're on
be
the time.
efficient. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a big powwow between these AI companies and the White House. And apparently one of the outcomes is that the big companies have agreed to watermark their generative AI content, so that I'm sure they're all thinking about the upcoming election, so that, you know, if there's some fake video that comes out, it's got a big watermark on it. But what about the companies that aren't going to watermark? So
Right, exactly.
I think this is
Yeah,
smart because
I doubt Russian companies are going to watermark.
yeah, right, right. The EVs have been having a hard time with all this heat. You know, cooling off the batteries during EV operation is a big deal. You got to keep the batteries cool. Otherwise, they overheat and their overall lifetime is reduced. And so what's been happening, I guess, in these, I'm not having a heat wave here, but I'm near the coast, but in these areas where they've been having these extreme heat waves, the range of the car has been reduced because of the batteries. I ran into this. Boy, look at the ads that I'm getting. I normally,
it looks like a Tesla, to be honest with you.
it's incredible, the ads. Normally I have ad blockers running, but since I'm presenting websites data, you know, their information, I'm not running the ad blockers. This is interesting. I don't know how good this is, but Soladeem, I guess it's called, launches 61 terabyte PCI SSD up to 7 gigabytes per second transfer rates. So I thought this was pretty interesting. I've been doing a lot of research into storage lately myself. And for example, if you have a Mac Studio and you have at least 4 terabytes of storage, it will run the storage in a RAID 0 configuration, basically, and you get 7 gigabytes or 7,000 megabytes per second transfer rates to the storage system. And so if you, for example, on the Mac Studio, if you want to go from 4 terabytes to 8 terabytes, it costs you an extra $1,000. And so it's pretty expensive from Apple. But anyways, these guys are going way beyond that, 61 terabytes. And so that's a huge amount of storage.
Yeah, I just got a 4 terabyte, and I thought that was a
lot. Yeah. So so that's interesting that you're able to get it in these large modules. And I looked them up on Amazon. I don't know how much this sells for. I was unable to find a price for this. But on Amazon, that same company has a 16 terabyte drive. This is in the form factor of a 2.5 inch like hard drive, but in this case, using the solid state storage, they don't have the transfer rates listed on the Amazon webpage, but this is $1,000 or so, and you know so this stuff is coming. We're starting to see this now. If I wanted a 16 terabyte hard drive, it would probably cost me $300 or $400. So for this, we're seeing it for $1,000. One of the limitations that you run into, I've also looked at, you know, if you're buying a Mac, they charge a lot for storage. What if you wanted to instead come up with external storage? Can you achieve the transfer rates that Apple is achieving internally? And the question is no, or the answer is no. If you're going for storage over Thunderbolt, for example, go ahead. What were you going to say, Rick?
No, I just say distance becomes a problem.
Yeah, if you're plugging in through Thunderbolt, you have to be careful what cable you're using if you want the highest transfer rates. But you're only going to get a maximum transfer rate of around 3 gigabytes per second versus the internal transfer rate of around 7 gigabytes per second. Now, one way you could get around that is you could plug in 2 drives over Thunderbolt, and as long as you plug them both into the right ports, they will be independent of each other, and you can RAID 0 those together and get faster transfer rates. But it gets very complicated when you do that. You have to pick exactly the right ports, and then you've got this RAID 0 that's external to two separate drives, which is sort of a shaky combination to use. So I don't really recommend that. But I delved into all this stuff just to see. But this is very interesting. So you could probably use this on Mac Pro and plug it into one of the expansion bays that they have, or you could plug this into like a desktop PC and get the full performance and so forth. But otherwise, if you're going to come in externally, you wouldn't be able to achieve those transfer rates. So it's all very interesting stuff. Oh, and you might say, well, what if I want to use a RAM drive? How fast is that? That's like on like the Mac Studio, that's like I believe 800 gigabytes per second. So that is super fast. So if you want to put if you have files that you're doing extensive file IO for, and they're not too big, let's say you got 32 or 64 gigabytes of RAM, you could put those on a RAM drive and just get extraordinary performance and basically take your IO speed out of the equation. Your IO speed is essentially infinite.
Wow, it's amazing.
So here's a trend. I believe the new Meta chatbot has some facilities for running locally or running privately, I should say. But you'd have to check those out. This is an article about running chatbots locally, and they did that. So there is I believe it's called the MLC chatbot. Yeah, MLC LLM that you can run locally so that you aren't hitting the internet to get your chatbot results. But it's not that great. It's slow. In their tests, it was slow, and it wasn't the best chatbot in terms of its responses. But this company has come up with a way of pruning down the number of weights on the chatbot and allowing you to run it locally. You can even run it on your phone if you want to, if you have a faster phone, like an iPhone 14 Pro Max, for example, with a lot of storage, with a lot of memory. You can run it on your phone. But they were running it on a Windows machine. They ran it on a phone. They ran it on a Windows machine that only had Intel integrated graphics, and they were using the GPU on that. Now, I'll tell you, the Intel integrated graphics GPU is not a strong GPU. So that wasn't a very good test. If you were to run it on a high-end Mac, for example, they have much stronger GPUs. If you were to run it on a Windows machine using like RTX 4070, 4080, or 4090 GPUs, those are much faster. So you might get significantly better performance. But still, with the pruned weights, they were not getting that great of an answer from the chatbot. So compared to like GPT-4 or something like that. So we're starting to get into the area, though, where you can run a chatbot locally and program the chatbot on your own, train the chatbot on your own data, so that you can have a custom chatbot. So it's coming. We're getting that stuff. Apple's macOS saw a dramatic upturn in 2022 worldwide. I thought this was sort of interesting. Here they talk about the stats. So this is appleinsider.com, which has a lot of useful articles. So Windows remains the dominant player with a 68% share, but macOS has the second position with about a 21% share. So I thought that was sort of interesting. Oh, this is an interesting one. If you're running for example, if you're on a Mac and you're running virtual machines, you can run VMware, you can run Parallels, and there are some other options as well that aren't perhaps quite as strong. But the next VMware release for Apple Silicon is going to have full 3D hardware acceleration.
Nice.
So that may exceed the performance in Parallels. I know in the past it's been sort of a trade-off between Parallels and VMware. Rick, I think you're running VMware.
No,
At
no, I'm not.
VMware, oh, you're not.
What's VMware and what's that?
It's software that allows you to run virtual machines.
Oh, virtual machine. Okay, so what?
Explain that completely, though. I'm not fully aware. I'm
Okay.
not fully cognizant of it.
I'm not good at
VMware and virtual
those software
machines.
things.
Yeah, I should explain.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, that you're a software developer and you're running on the Mac and you want to run the latest beta of Apple's operating system, which would be Mac OS Sonoma, for example. You probably don't want to run that. You probably don't want to update your machine to that version of the OS, that beta version of the OS. Mac OS.
So you want to kind of slice your hardware into different types of things or virtual things, and you
would want to run it in a more protected environment. So if it goes bananas, it doesn't totally hose your machine that you might rely on a daily basis. So what you would want to do is you'd want to run that instead in a virtual machine. And so there's a number of ways you can do that. For example, you can run VMware, you can run Parallels. Those are two different systems that allow you to run virtual machines. And what a virtual machine is it's sort of a simulation of the operating system. And so if you were to install VMware or Parallels on your Mac, you can run VMware on Windows machines as well. And what you would do is you would generate sort of a simulation of the operating system running. Typically, it's not as high a performance, but allows you to run the system in an isolated way so that if it has a really bad crash, it's not going to corrupt your hard drive. If there's viruses or something, that gives you a little bit more protection. But mainly, it sort of isolates what you're running from your main system so that you don't get corruption and it protects your system. And it's not quite as good performance, but here they're saying they're going to have full 3D hardware acceleration. So that will be very interesting. And go ahead.
Question for you, Jim. Do some people on the PC use VMware to emulate the Mac environment?
No. Well, maybe somebody.
How do you do that if you wanted to do that? Like if you wanted to emulate the Mac environment for, say, Apple Vision development, how would you do that on a PC?
Well, if you wanted to do that on a PC, you can run Xcode. Yeah, Xcode is Apple's development environment. And so you can run that on a PC. If you're going to do production code, you may prefer to run it on a Mac, but you can run it on a PC. And so that's one way you could do your development if you're on Windows machines. If you're doing development on the Mac, you're probably going to be running Xcode on the Mac and programming in Swift. And so, but even if you're, let's say you wanted to develop for Vision OS, well, the version of Xcode that you would use is a beta version of Xcode 15. And so, some people feel that if you're running beta software for development, you want to run it in a virtual machine. I know there are other developers that say if you want to develop for Vision OS, the beta version of Xcode is probably okay. You're probably not going to hose your system. And so they might develop it outside of a virtual machine. But there are other developers that say, no, I want to run inside a virtual machine. If you're running stuff if you're developing stuff for the Apple Watch, for example, You may not want to run that on your Apple Watch. If you're dependent on that watch for example, I've got an Apple Watch, for your daily stuff, it's a little bit harder to restore an Apple Watch if you hose it. So, you know, you may want to develop, particularly if you're developing like iOS 17 beta stuff or something like that, you might want to run in a virtual machine versus running it on your watch directly. So anyways, there's trade-offs. You know, you have to have a fair amount of resources on your machine if you're going to run virtual machines. But anyways, performance has always been an issue, and so if they're giving you full 3D hardware acceleration, I mean, that would be pretty good. That would be a desirable thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. This is an interesting thing. Apple has come up with what they call personal voice in iOS 17. And so basically what it is, it's a way to create a new voice. I mean, there's various websites that will let you create a voice, and then use it to, use it to synthesize speech. And so Apple's working on that. The only issue was it required here's somebody who tried to do that. This is appleinsider.com. And they tried it out. They trained their own voice into the system. And the training talking that you do in order so that it has some data to work on for its training, it's not that much. I think they spent 15 minutes or something, although that's more than with a lot of these systems. And the issue though was it took a lot of, they did train it on the local computer. Apple did the training on that local computer, or in this case, a phone. But it took a lot of time for doing the training. I think it happened over several evenings. They would have it like train overnight while you weren't using your device. And the resulting voice was sort of robotic. And I don't want to steal all the thunder of this article, but you can go in and check it out. So it's not quite up to speed with some of these other competing websites for this, but they're working on it, and so it will probably improve. So anyways, that's all that I had, so I'll stop sharing.
Oh, Rick, do you want to share what's VoiceBox from Meta?
Sure, I can do that. I want to make sure I have the right setting. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I know there's a setting so the video comes over better when you share, right? Or is that
when you click on share screen and it shows you all those windows in the lower left corner, there's a checkbox for the video, and there's also a checkbox for sending the audio directly to Zoom instead of having it loop through your speakers and microphone.
Yeah, so share sound and optimized video for clip. Those are the
right.
two.
And if we each turn off our video, then that will make things run smoother as well. So I just switched off my video.
Okay, very good. Why am I not seeing anything?
We're seeing Meta AI VoiceBox. It looks like
okay, hold on. I'm just trying to get you guys back because I don't see you anymore.
Yeah,
maybe some settings.
It's okay. It's okay if you don't see us.
Okay.
We can see you.
Well, all right. So anyway, here's on VoiceBox.
You probably need to click the sound share. If you click,
and all
hold on.
Oh,
Here we go.
Is it
we can
going
hear
now?
the sound. We can hear the sound.
Working. It seems to work. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Oh, doing some shit to me here. Go back to the beginning. Oh, no, I didn't want to go back. There we go.
That Meta introduced VoiceBox. It's a generative speech model and all it needs are 2 seconds of audio and it can clone your voice. Sounds crazy, I know. VoiceBox can take a text input and then put it out in multiple different voices.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
It can learn from a short reference audio and a text input.
The country's lush forests and diverse ecosystems offer. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
From only a 2-second audio clip and a text input, it can generate completely different text.
Offer ample opportunities to observe and learn about the vast.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
What's really crazy is it can take your voice and even translate it in another language.
Los frondosos bosques y los diversos ecosistemas del país. The quick brown fox jumps over
like
the
that,
lazy
Dominique?
dog.
To me, this is really crazy how fast generated
Yeah.
audio evolves. How about you? Let me know in the comments. To me, this was just a matter of time, but now
Okay, so there's that one. Then the other one I got. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Good. All right. The other one I got is this. Just really getting out the hook with this.
Wow, so you can create games just by typing like, oh, I want space games, and all the code will show up.
Yep.
That's cool. Wow.
Where is this?
Well, what's this? Yeah, I wanna get it. Like, what language is required?
I'll show you in the when we. I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah. So, I mean, game designers spend so much time, you know, for a degree and all the experience. Now I can see the 2D sprite game, and later on probably 3D, right? Like VR, MR, and
Yeah.
wow, this is very cool, very handy.
Let me go
FR, VR.
here. Here it's called FRVR.
Wow.
Using totally. And let me go to the chat. And I just dropped that in for you guys. And then the last one I have, this one blew me away. Now, this is not really VR. I mean, this is not really AR. It's in Blender. It is procedural programming using the procedural object node. But it'll blow you away with the results that it delivers. You guys ready? But incredibly useful for development. That's totally procedurally generated as a gimme object.
Wow.
So you just write a code and it will generate a really nice video for you.
And
what
it's
is-
all natively in Blender.
Blender, you use Blender and
Yes.
it will create like this. It's like a AAA game.
Yes.
What's the name of this?
I haven't tried it myself yet.
Can you share the URL? It's just crazy. So you can use Blender to do this, then what's the point of what are we doing? Introducing
The point of it is, what is the concept? What do you want to communicate? You know, we're getting to a point where we're evolving as a civilization where we're literally going to combine reality.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, surface, bounding box, all of it. It is all procedural little units.
So this is Blender. Is this a plugin for Blender?
Yes.
Oh, this is a plugin for Blender generative AI. And is it just doing the mesh or also animation?
Procedural. It's not even AI. Yes, it's doing the math. It's
Wow.
doing.
What's the difference between procedure and AI?
Well, procedural is, the flow process in the program interface.
Infinigen.
Infinigen, yeah.
Infinigen. Okay. let me
Yeah.
.org.
see this Infinigen.
Isn't that amazing?
So is that available right now?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And how much do they charge for it?
Nothing. It's free.
Nothing.
Wow,
Nothing.
Infinigen is
Free.
free.
Yeah,
Infinigen.
so I only got 3 links, but 2 of them are really blow your mind away. Here, I'll throw that in there for you guys too.
Can you
And
share the
I'll
Infinigen?
I'll throw Infinigen's website in also, their home, which is quite beautiful, by the way. Here, I'll take a second to show you that.
Oh, Infinigen. Wow.
See, about Infinigen. Infinigen is a procedural generator for 3D scenes developed by Princeton Vision and Learning Lab. Infinigen is optimized for computer vision research and generates diverse, high-quality 3D training data. Infinigen is based on Blender and is free and open source. Infinigen is being developed and to expand the capabilities and coverage everyone can contribute. So this
This
Boy,
is
this is interesting.
so, yeah, I mean, this will take a lot of senior 3D modelers' job.
Well, yes and no. It'll just again
Did the mediocre job, but I mean, wow.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, it's got all that stuff in it too. I'll put this link in there also. Hold on. It's just Infinigen.org.
I had another article, I didn't show it, that said that 27% of jobs are going to be lost through AI.
Oh yeah. Can you share that? I mean,
I don't know where my link is right now. Sorry.
Oh, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah, I think the majority of
Literally,
jobs will be eliminated.
Literally. Okay, now how do I get out of this again so I can see you guys? I guess
Go
I
back.
stopped sharing screens.
Well, you can stop sharing, yeah.
Yeah, maybe stop sharing.
How do I stop share? Stop share.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Where's the stop share button?
It's the red button. We're actually seeing your stop share button. There's a green and a red.
Oh yeah, I see it. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that's all I've got because I've been really busy with my my unified field sacred geometry visualizing work. You know, like you're seeing
it's pretty good.
That's
Pretty good.
not my stuff. I've just been learning, because I've had to relearn Blender. I've been away from it so long, so I'm kind of a little busy.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, right now, later on, we are going to have another speaker event with Alex. Do you think that, I mean, I can share with you I've been watching this morning. I'm just curious, how can I create Vision Pro? So I watched Delmer's kind of like a tutorial. Maybe I can kind of like very quickly walk through that what I saw. You probably need to download the Xcode 15 beta 2 and then iOS 17 beta 2, something like this, the combination of Vision Pro. Yeah, you need to kind of do this. I just fast forward just to show how how to start kind of building it in your
So you load that Xcode 15 beta 2 on your PC?
Yes. And also Vision Pro, right? Yeah, so you kind of, okay. Yeah, so you kind of search Vision Pro. Yeah, so they have like a different project you can build, but you need to do like a Vision OS. And you hit
Could you
next.
put that in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm very interested, how can I start creating some interesting things? Because I saw on LinkedIn, a lot of people start creating some simulations. And I know that Vision Pro is not out there, but you can definitely use what you can do and do some simulation. So yeah, so those, if you do some Unity development on mobile phone, you should already set up. So you just change the theme and hit next. And then it will go to something like this, and you can kind of start play around. I really like this types of things. It's very automated and very simple, and you can see the code, right? Those code is pretty much a lot of APIs, and you kind of use Vision Pros. For example, you add test item.
I wonder if
yeah, item, you can get item 2. It's very simple.
I wonder if you could also work with ChatGPT-4 and she would help you program in this.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's up to date enough to do that.
I know, I wonder too. I guess supposedly they have a lot of plugins now that
I think Apple might have Apple Chat GPT. Apple just launched their Apple GPT. Maybe this can combine. Maybe you can just talk, right? Hey, I want this to look like something. But I think the code is very simple. It's very similar
anyway.
to, yeah, you see item 1, item 2, item 3, and it's all done. And
as in all code, it's simple until you want to do something unique. Then it becomes simple.
Yeah, so just look at this. I feel like I can do a lot of very interesting stuff. For example, like you can click this, right? You have something control, right? And this will be right now on your 2D screen, it's mouse, but yeah, but later on might be the eye and hand. So so I kind of want to at least I play around and see, because I use Unity to prototype, and I don't think this is the best way. If there's a default, right? Let's just use the default. Okay. Rick, any questions?
Yeah, I had one on that. It's not a question. I mean, that's amazing. I'll look into that because, with what I'm working on, this sacred geometry, music visualizer kind of space. I mean, God, I could see that being perfect for the Vision Pro, or what do they call it? The Vision Pro kind of thing. But what?
Do you have a Mac, Rick?
No, I do not. I mean, I have an iPad, but that's other than that, I'm all power PC'd out, and I do my development on PC to this point. What little bit I do. But what I was going to say is I heard a little bit interesting article, and that is that Apple is not without its problems right now. For one, there's a lot of rumors that it's real easy to scratch the front of the new Vision Pro. Can you imagine 3,500? You lay down 3,500, and you all of a sudden you got a big scratch running across the front of it. That there's been some reports that it's fairly easy to break if you run into something.
Maybe someone will sell protectors for the screen.
Yeah, they already have. They're already starting to do that, but it's kind of retarded that you got to buy something like that to destroy the beauty of that kind of a design. I mean, so there's that. And then also the fact that originally they were going to manufacture 1 million. Then they cut it down to 500,000. Then they cut it down to 300,000, and now it's down to 150,000. And the main reasons being because they're having such incredibly hard manufacturing challenges from it.
Well,
So-
I think there's a perspective on that in that this is a groundbreaking product. And so it's expected, for example, the displays that they're using inside, I believe they're manufactured by Sony. Nobody's ever done that before at
Yeah,
that resolution. And so it's expected that they're going to run into some hiccups with that stuff. And so I would be sort of surprised if they didn't. But you know,
Yeah, but if they only get 150,000 sets out into the market, then you know this isn't going to really take off until 2025.
Well, and all of these numbers are rumors because Apple hasn't said anything about this. So
yeah, it's just rumors.
And we don't really know the demand yet either. So
they'll sell out irregardless. Whatever
Probably.
they got available, they'll be gone day
Probably.
one.
Yeah, probably.
As soon as they're up, they'll be gone because there's enough rich people in the United States that'll just eat that shit up whether they need it or not. Sorry for the vernacular.
I think right now we probably need to stop today's news because Alex and his co-organizer will join it. So that's just stop recording.
But we stay